Hello, friends. Today we're going to talk about timing. Timing is everything. Let's get into it. Hi, friends. This is Bethany Jennings, and you're listening to We Should Talk. It's a podcast where we talk about anything and everything to encourage, equip, and empower you to be a decent human. Let's talk. Hello, and welcome back. I don't think this is going to be a very long episode, but you know me, it's unscripted, so we'll see how it turns out. Let me describe this setting for you. I am currently in one of the coolest places I've ever stayed. It's a Airbnb called The Loft, I'm pretty sure, and it is in Aberdeen, Mississippi, and we are in the coolest room. It's so cool. It was a old apartment building, like abandoned apartment building, and the pastor, I believe, purchased it and redid everything. And so now it's like these really cool places you can rent. So there's like different suites, and they're like, one's called the Governor, one's called the something. Ours is called the Presidential, and I think this one's relatively fresh. I'm pretty sure. Somebody that we were eating with from the church told us they had just got the furniture and decor in. So I don't know. I think this one's pretty new. But everything's super, super nice. I am sitting in this big open living area. I just had some breakfast that I made in this very cool kitchen. It's exposed brick and black ceilings, and it's very cozy, very cozy. This couch is amazing. And all of the appliances are smart devices. So right now you hear this music. That music is actually coming from the refrigerator, believe it or not. Because it's a smart fridge, and so you can draw on it and write notes on it, and also it can play a YouTube video. So anyways, it's just such a cool place. Obviously, I can't show you this because this is an audio podcast, but it's super cool. It's a really cool place to stay. They've been so hospitable. David is here working on a recording right now, and we're going to be doing their Judah Music Conference here at the end of the week, which is coming up. So anyways, that's the setting. I'm trying to think, are there any live updates? Linger is out. That was out last week, or it came out Good Friday. But a little known fact, I'm actually releasing the live music video experience tomorrow. So that's exciting. And we're making sure all the resources are available for Linger and all the things. It's been a long time coming. In a roundabout way, about 10 years, actually. So I initially started the recording process, not for Linger, but it was going to be a completely and entirely different project. And you know what? This is going to lead into our topic for the day. It was a completely, entirely different project. It was supposed to be like a full thing. And it was right after I graduated college. So I graduated college, I studied accounting and psychology, and I was in college for a minute. I started when I was in high school. But anyways, I graduated college in 2015. 2015 is when I graduated college. So yes, if you're doing the math, I have been graduated from college for 10 years, which is crazy pants. But anyways, so I graduated college, and as my gift for that, my parents purchased studio time, quote unquote. They were paying for me to have a project recorded in studio. Well, I had songs that I'd written. I've always written songs. But as it turned out, it wasn't the right timing. And I went up to do the recording process a few times, and the pastor was so generous. It was actually a studio in a church. He's very generous, and he brought some people in that were very well known in the industry that they worked in. And Pastor Nathan Holmes actually is the one that did it, and he heard some of the songs and very, very, very supportive through that whole thing. And I didn't really even know him. I'd never even met him at that point. And he was very supportive of me doing this. And I actually met them, the Holmes and FPC, long before David did. So you're welcome, David. Or you're welcome, FPC. I don't know. I don't know. Again, this leads into timing is everything. So it just didn't work out. The way the songs were set up, the way that that specific production process, just stuff happened, life happened. I'm not going to get into all the details of it, but it didn't work out. And it was very frustrating in that moment. I was like, but this, was really, my parents just spent money on it. Blah, 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 blah. And it just wasn't mapping out. Well, then Kurt shows up. Kurt Canhigh, who is at FPC now. He shows up whenever he showed up. And David and I were married by then, by the time he got there. And so we go in, and he was like, look, he actually called me. I had his name wrong in my phone when he first called me, actually, because I didn't actually understand what he said. But anyways, Kurt is his name. And he was like, my name's Kurt Canhigh. I'm here at FPC. I'm helping manage the studios. I'd love to get a plan together to get whatever out for you. I was like, okay, cool. Well, we ended up getting a single done at that point, and it was To Be Like Jesus. That was 100% in studio. And I think Kurt sort of knew what he was dealing with when he was working with me. But when I say he turned the lights down when I started recording To Be Like Jesus, immediate tears. And I was like, sorry. I'm sure you can hear it one of the first recordings. But it was just like, To Be Like Jesus was such a heart song for me. And I'm so, so happy that that's the first single I released, because that is my heart's cry. Always. And so it was a cool moment for me to have that. So that was in studio, a little less pressure. And then, not that working with Kurt is ever no pressure, because he's Kurt Canhigh, but he's pretty cool. So while we're in studio doing that, David lets him hear one of his songs. Well, David had already met him kind of in passing a little bit at camp meeting before this studio experience happened. And David and Taylor Fish happened to go up, and Pastor Ben was there. He got shampooed. He was holy roll. It was a whole thing. So Kurt had met David. After meeting me, he had met David at a camp meeting. And then David and I went to the studio, and I recorded To Be Like Jesus. And then while we were there for that experience, David was like, hey, I want you to listen to something. Tell me what you think. And he let him hear Under My Feet. Under our feet. Somebody's feet. And Kurt was like, yeah, that's cool, bro. I can see how that could be a vibe. Something like that. But he wasn't sold. So anyways, David and I have been to pretty much every camp meeting since then, except for the ones where I was so pregnant and I couldn't go. And so a relationship started and was forming, and then we started working with Kurt at Zion. I think David suggested Kurt for Zion, actually, at Pentecostals of Katy with the McKees. And so it's kind of like a family reunion every year when we go there, see all the people we love, some of the people we love. And so then while we were at POK, one year for Zion, Kurt was like, hey, David, what if blah, 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 and says whatever he says, right? And David was like, I don't know, man. I just gotta have the resources for that. And he's like, that's for me to worry about and for you not to worry about. And that's what Kurt said. I really, this Kurt accent is getting intense for me. And David did in fact worry about it, but so did Kurt. So David worried less about it. And David's whole project and to be like Jesus and all the things led to David having, and the timing of us going to Odessa, Texas for the Southwest Conference when we did. And, oh my word, there's so many pieces working together here. I didn't even realize it. That's crazy. Okay, wait. So, graduate college, parents pay for the project to be done. Project doesn't happen. I met some cool people in the process, but that project doesn't happen, which I'm happy about because those songs were great, but they were not exactly what I needed them to be because there's not a true expression of what I feel and then my heart song, whatever. Then I record To Be Like Jesus, and David has gone to camp meeting. David meets Kurt. Kurt listens to Under My Feet. Kurt's like, yeah, that could be a vibe. David keeps going to camp meetings. Him and Kurt start forming this strange connection that they have, the chemistry. And during that, we go do Odessa's Southwest Conference in 2020. Cool. We come back, I think, in 21 or something, and I teach a session. That was 2020. I taught a session on worship leading and what did I spoke on For Whom the Bell Tolls, basically, I think is what I called it. I don't remember. Oh, handling the brass section is what I called it. And in that session, Savannah McKee and a couple of other friends from POK were there. I had never met Savannah McKee, now Pedigo, at that point. In comes Savannah before we go on the platform to sing, and she's like, I know you don't know me, but I'm Savannah, and your session had me in the floor, blah, blah, blah. Savannah, she's excitable. And she's like, the session had me in the floor, I'm telling my mom to have you at Zion. I said, okay, great. Yeah, let's do that. And so apparently she does, because we got a call from the Sharon McKee, and that was the first year we did Zion as well. And while we were at Zion, there was like a shift in clinicians, and we suggested Kurt come, and then Kurt comes, and then Zion is actually where the genesis of David's project happened. Like the concept was birthed there, and then David had a project, and we have done Zion and worked with Kurt and a lot of those clinicians and a lot of the musicians from FPC and done camp meetings and all the things. All of that came from my initial project not getting done. Well, while we're at David's recording, David, before we get there, David's like, babe, I know you've been kind of frustrated. You're happy with To Be Like Jesus being out, but I know initially you wanted a whole project was the goal. And he said, but I've talked to Kurt, and while we're at my recording, you're going to do a live single. When I say I cried, which actually is not that shocking with me, but I did cry. So, yeah. So I wrote Linger during some worship time, and then all the process of production, blah, blah, blah. And then I did Linger live there and all the things. So all of this got to happen. Me speaking at Zion, Kurt and the relationship he has at POK now in Zion, David and Kurt's relationship, the To Be Like Jesus, Linger, David's whole project, all of those things came from me not getting a project done in 2015. Think about that. All of these things, this very life that I am living right now, David producing a live record because of the friendship and relationship and the things he has learned through relationships with people like Kurt and by proxy other people. All of that happened because my plans didn't work. My plans did not pan out. Disappointment led to this development. And we've got to get used to disappointments being okay, because our plans are not the final say. Now, we should have plans. It's okay to have plans. But Scripture says the steps of a righteous man are ordered. You got to take steps, right? The Lord establishes your plans. You got to have some kind of plan. But He will establish the final product. Does that make sense? We actually see this all through Scripture, specifically with Lazarus. Mary and Martha were like, why didn't you come? If you were here, he would still be alive. And blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I know, and I'm so sad that you're sad. But it had to be this way so that you could really see what's going on. It had to be this way so that word could get back and the ultimate plan could be fulfilled. So it was all about timing. We see this with Jesus on his way to raise the child. On his way to do that, that's when the woman with the issue of blood gets healed. It was timing. He could have left, he could have did what he did from where he was standing. And that he told him, like, you say it and it'll happen. I understand authority because I'm under authority. And he's like, no, I'm going to go. And because Jesus did what he did, how he did, when he did, additional miracles happened. We see this all throughout Scripture. This is a recurring theme, that timing is everything. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in our plans and our schedule and our blah, 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 that when something does not work out exactly to the T how we think it should, then we get a sense of failure. There's something wrong with us. I'm not able to accomplish this, and I'm not able to move forward with this, and there's something wrong with me that I don't have a child yet. There's something wrong with me that I don't have a spouse yet. There's something wrong with me that my college career has deviated. There's something wrong with me. And we make it all about us. It has never been about us. It's about God and His plans. I had a question, I think I answered it last time in the Q&A episode, about advice for someone who's waiting to marry and they're almost in their 30s. And it is better. It is better to wait and make sure it's right, because I have seen multiple marriages turn to trash. And it's not that the people in the marriage were awful, it's that the timing was wrong. And what could have been prevented with one more year of waiting to get married, even to the same person, turned into this long, drawn-out, traumatic marriage. And some of them eventually worked through the trauma and went to counseling and all the things, but that could have been prevented. Had they waited even one more year, it could have been prevented. Gotten jobs lined out, gotten living situations lined out, gotten schooling lined out, gotten ministry lined out. Had they gotten those things lined out, they could have skipped the trauma and went right into a happy, healthy marriage. Unfortunately, even when this does happen, sometimes people think, well, I married the wrong person, and they just divorce them. And then they live a life of confusion and drama. And sometimes children are involved by that point, and so that child lives a whole life of trauma and drama. And it's not always that you've married the wrong person. Sometimes it's that you married them at the wrong time. And so what should have taken 1 year of separated work is going to take 5 years of combined work, which is kind of backwards math if you think about it. But there's no reprieve when you were constantly in the same house as someone, sharing bank accounts with someone, sharing meals with someone, sharing social circles nonstop, the space that you have in dating, even in during your engagement, that space is so valuable. That's why I hate it when couples can't breathe without the other one in the room. They do not exist outside of that person. Number one, get your own life. Quit being a leech. Number two, because you don't have your own life and because you are leeching off of them, you share struggle. You share drama. You share all the things. The space is built in for a reason. The space is there for a reason when you're starting those relationships. Timing as far as jobs and careers. I don't even know if I've told that on this podcast. My whole experience with the timing of my job at the mental health center, it was right. It was God ordained. But when the time came to leave, I didn't want to leave. And not because I was so happy there. I was not happy there. I didn't look forward to going into work every day. I was behind multiple locked doors for my safety. I did not enjoy working there. And it was time for me to go, but I did not listen when God said, it's time to go. It's time to switch it up. You're supposed to be doing something else. I didn't listen. And because I didn't listen, the Lord was like, all right, fine, I'll boot you out. And that's when I ended up having my wreck and walking away from that job and into teaching and really finding my thriving, not just finding, but thriving in that teaching aspect of things that I love to do in any setting. But it's not that the job at Spindletop Mental Health Center was wrong. It was right for right now. And when right now was done, it was time to move on. We've got to understand that right might just be for right now. And then as we grow and develop and things change, the Lord may have another assignment, another place for us to be. And I was like, well, it's a job. It's not that big of a deal. No, everything is an assignment. We just happen to be in these human bodies right now. And our whole purpose for existing in these human bodies is to carry out the will of God, carry out the work of God. Everything you do is an assignment. That's why it's so important to have a daily walk with Christ, to have a daily talk with Him, so that you know what He wants from you in that day. What's my assignment today, God? What would you like for me to do? I'm in the Lord's army. I'm an officer. What would you like for me to do? What's my assignment? What's my mission today? This actually turned into a longer episode than I expected because the backstory started happening. Anyways, what a nice conversation we've had. I'm going to wrap up my morning stuff here. It's morning time, unless I don't know if I told you that or not. My kids are still asleep. David has walked to the church for his studio time, recording time. So I am going to go. But I just want you to think about this. Just dwell on it. Some of you are probably facing decisions right now, and you're so conflicted because there were so many confirmations for you to be where you are, but you feel the need to move on. You feel the need for that change. You feel a change coming, but you are so worried that you're going to make the wrong decision because there were so many confirmations for you to be where you are currently. But just because it's right for right now does not mean it's right for always. And you've got to know the voice of God. You've got to let Him lead you to all things, right? All right. I love y'all. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Well, that was fun. I'm glad you stuck around for the whole thing. And thank you for talking to me today. Y'all go like and follow and review and do all the podcast things that people do. And don't forget to be a good human.